Hey, everybody. The teams are in. It's time. It's game day. You're going to be watching this on game day. First elimination final for the AFL, Carlton and Sydney. And I found another passionate Swans fan who happens to have a really good YouTube channel. Rolls Macca. Mate, this is the first time we've met.
Yeah, it sure is, mate. Yeah, pleasure to be here, mate. Thanks for getting me on. Absolutely love the stuff you guys have been doing. The community you've been building, it's just been sensational. And I think the build up to this one is pretty interesting, I might say. I think from your camp, it's been massive. From ours, it's been sort of a little bit under the radar. But in terms of the preview, I think both teams have had sort of the similar form. Second half of the year, both sitting in the bottom four. We've made played some great footy this second half of the year, and now we're meeting in what should be a great cracking matchup this Friday night, the big round of the G. So, yeah, keen to get into this.
Absolutely. Well, I really want to dig into the Sydney story. I love the Swans, but I don't watch other clubs as deeply as Carlton, so I can't talk on the experience. But there's a bit of similarity in that at some point in the year, the Swans found themselves in a bit of a hole like the Blues. What's the story been? What is the story of the Swans this year, and how'd you get here?
Oh, it's been interesting. Yeah, I think just how we've been able to turn things around is just with the second half of the year, especially, is just the improvement and especially just the synergy of the groups and the honesty and the cohesion's really built. I think the shades, not like the full shades, but a bit of the shades of 2022 pressure, moving the footy's really improved. I think the second half of the year. I think the two issues which has hurt us from the first half of the year was definitely the mental side of things. And I think a lot of fitness as well. I feel like we've had a bit of fitness issues, probably because of the later preseason and everything. But yeah, I think the second half where we've really built strong is moving the footy much better. Defensively, we've been a lot more defensively sound as a back six. We rebound well. We can score a lot from coast to coast. We can catch teams with that. And yeah, especially the efficiency. We've been winning games a lot in the second half this year, purely based off efficiency. We've been one of the most efficient teams in the comp. Every time it's going inside 50, we're usually scoring. Forward line's been humming. And there's a lot of inconsistencies and, of course, personnel issues out. You know, we had Mills out for a bit, Warner out for a bit, McCartan out for a bit. All those important keys were cogs to the side were missing. So I think now with injuries a bit more of a less of a thing this second half of the year, we've seemed to really build and galvanize as a group. And yeah, we're starting to see some really good form throughout players. And I think there's been a lot of things contributing to our second half of the year, which has been great.
Yeah. The Swans strike me as this club that, I mean, every club changes year to year, whether it's a couple of list changes or going in a totally different direction with senior players and whatnot. But the Swans have, I don't know, always had this ability to just keep their head above sea level and not completely fall too deep. I look across the park of the teams named, and we'll touch on them in a minute. Young players everywhere, but these young players have good experience, which is where I'm mindful of that. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, definitely. Experiences, it does really mean a lot of things in the long run. And I think we're really, really fortunate that we've been able to go far and play some cracking games, especially in the deep end of seasons, especially, of course, last year. And the thing that I really like is we're playing at the MCG. This is the place you want to play, especially for finals. Being as a non-Victorian supporter, and being a fan of a non-Victorian club, you want to play at the MCG as much as possible because that's where you got to win the flag. But yeah, that's definitely going to be interesting how much the experience comes into effect, because you've got the home team with a massive belief, screaming fans and everything, versus where we've a bit more of the experience side. But I think we're definitely up to the task. It's a massive opportunity. I think internally the players know we are good enough if we really put our strengths to the table. So yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. What's your take on, I feel like the transition with Buddy, kind of, you go into the season, goes on for another year. I found it a little interesting that he's retired now, and that's kind of it. In many ways, I think he looked a bit more dangerous without him in the side towards the very end, which is, I don't know, crazy to think about, but Father Time is undefeated. What do you make of the transition, from Buddy and without him?
Yeah, I think it's been pretty good. I think that it's been quite known that the statistics with like Logan McDonald, a few of those plays, when Buddy's out of the side, he can play really good. But he's still one of those players, like at the start of the year, people were like, oh, he's not good enough. But if he's fit, he's best 22. He's still a player that has impact. And it was a shame. He was playing some good footy prior to that Essendon game. And he went down with that. I think it was the calf problem or something with his leg. I forgot what it was. But yeah, fortunately, it did end his season. But I think their transition has been obviously a bit abrupt, a bit sudden. But we have players that we know that can play good footy with Buddy out of the side. Hayden McLean's been awesome this year, signed for 4 years. Jack Bully picked up in the mid-season draft. Obviously, McDonald's been, he was out for around 5 weeks or something with an injury, but he still kicked near around 30 goals. So I think he's really improving year by year. So I think he could really explode next year, of course. And of course, the other one, Joel Amati, a bit more injury prone, but he's always shows great athleticism. So I think looking at the list, 4 under 24-year-olds that are key forwards that can play the ruck role as well. I think we've certainly got, plenty of firepower in the years to come with our Buddy.
Yeah. So teams are in. We're filming this moments after the teams were named. We'll start with the Swans. So Robbie Fox, Dill Stevens, Ryan Clark are out. Aaron Francis was obviously the sub, comes out, and then you've got McInerney, Melican, and Papley. What do you think about those changes?
Yeah, well, first up, loading on my phone, I sort of cover my eyes and stuff because I don't want to see the AFL front page because it'll say something like shock out or anything. So I just, like to load it in first. But it's interesting. Well, first off, J-Mac and Papley are the big ins. Juzzy's been a little bit injury prone the last 2 years or so, but he's one of the cult figures of the club, gives us a bit of swagger with the ball movement. He loves to kick a goal as well. He's been I think he's been in the top half with goal-kicking midfielders this year, so he can really find the goals. He loves to take the game on, so he's huge. Middle patch of the year, I felt he was genuinely one of our best plays. It's important to how we move the footy, where Dylan Stevens has been taking a spot, sort of, which is a bit of a shame he's been dropped. So it's going to be interesting when the silly season comes if he does make the move to maybe South Australia back home or maybe even North. I'd love to keep him, though, but yeah, maybe he just isn't to be. But yeah, the big shock call, Lewis Melican, is an interesting one. So I think, pretty much a straight swap for Fox, and, Francis is sort of like the lower rung anyway. But yeah, Melican's interesting. He's one of our depth key position players, but he's one of those players that is very injury prone. But when he's fit, he can always make a bit of an impact. I think when he was a bit more younger, when he was a bit more fit, he was a very, very a promising young player, strong in the air, really good in the contested mark. And he was playing some great games. He was in some great form, just playing as an accountable role, sort of that stopper role on a few plays prior to getting injured. So, I think he's been in good form. He's had some stints in the VFL. I think he's ready. Should take Mackay. In terms of dropping Robbie Fox, well, I think deep down watching him carefully, I feel like he's been a little bit off the pace. He's a versatile player, though, so that's a shame. But I feel like I think just matching with the Carlton tools that you guys have, I think Melican's a bit more of a better choice. And then obviously Papley's the big one, can make the damage in the forward line. But he's important in our centre bounces. He's able to sort of just squirm his way with his little body, get first possession, get a little hack clearance forward, and obviously the impact he can do down forward is definitely a big sign. So, yeah, those are some important ins, I might say.
Yeah. When I looked at it from the Sydney end, I thought, all right, bit of experience down back. I'm pretty sure Melican played in the game that we played this season at the SCG. He's got some experience too behind him. I know. I look back then. It's almost a different club on the Carlton side of things. I think Mackay and Charlie kicked 1 goal, 6 between them on the night. And I remember that night, Blakey just torched them both. Blakey, Melican was good. It was really off the back of your defense, just not letting our forwards get a clean run at it. And I don't know. I think I've been pretty calm all week. I'm not going to lie, but I think now it's real. And by the time I wake up on Friday morning, I mean, I don't know what this is like. It's been 10 years, so it's going to be a totally different experience.
Yeah, definitely. And, how we played that night has been a massive reflection of how we've been able to win games. We've lost a lot of the inside 50 count this year, but just our efficiency, we've been composed as a back half through Blakey. Blakey's been awesome this year. Now, his inclusion in the All-Australian was awesome. Playing more accountable role this year, very good in the air, can uses pace off halfback. Even Ollie Florence been huge to us. But yeah, just all about our efficiency. So I'm pretty sure it's going to be wet tomorrow night. So that's going to be interesting. Might suit your boys more, maybe with the contested game, which is a big issue with us. But I think in the wet, we always seem to be a bit more of the cleaner side usually. So, we've got to be on top of our games with that as well.
Yeah, no, I don't expect the Swans to be anything other than sharp. The Blues, interesting on our end. We bring in Doherty, Cripps, and Pitternet, and then out goes Durden, Fisher, Dow, and Hollins. So a couple of smalls go out. There's an argument to be made there that we're pretty tall, which we are. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know how you take the teams, but I just, once they come out, I just get behind whatever's out there on the park. But what's your perception of the Blues from, the outside looking in?
First off, I absolutely love Nick Newman and George Hewitt too. Just Lord players of the Swans. Love Nick Newman back in the day. He's always a true clubman, so it's great to see him playing some good footy. And George Hewitt, I think always deep down he's been a great midfielder. It was awesome in our 2021 campaign, moved more in the midfield. And shame he's been having a few injury problems. He had a bad back throughout the years with us. So I love them too. But definitely contested footy does scare us. We always struggle against big body mids. Look at last game against the D's. Petrarca went off. We could not contain him. That's always been, I think, the big issue with us. So for me, I think Cripps is the biggest the biggest influence for you guys, I think, from our perspective, because he's the guy that's just ultra clean in the stoppage, especially probably because it's going to be a wet game. He can win a lot of ball. He can break a lot of tackles and get a lot of kicks forward. So he's, I think, the big one to stop. People might say Curnow too, but even though, yes, he's an absolute star, I think Tom McCartan's been in some superb form. He's been, I think, play ratings wise, one of the best key backs the last 5 weeks. He's been superb on his direct opponent. So I'll give him every chance to try and nullify him well. But definitely stoppage is an absolute great side. Contested footy's been good. And I think defensively, you've been actually quite sound too. Wiedering's been awesome. I know, it's a shame he didn't make the All-Australian, probably because his first half maybe wasn't as good as the second half of the year. But, he's always terrific in the air, especially when he plays against us. And, Brody Kemp's very good in the air too. You like to peel off and make an impact. And, I think with our forward pressure, we've got to really try and, press the likes of Newman and Saad that can really, with their foot skills, really control the game well. So, but the big thing is definitely around the footy and stoppage dominance, which is definitely a negative from our end.
Yeah. My thing tomorrow is the whole finals experience factor. You touched on it earlier. I think I'm just curious around how long it takes them to settle into it. I think it's just natural. They're going to be feeling whatever they're feeling, whether it's nerves, excitement, just that issue of getting into the flow of the game. I hope it doesn't take too long from our end. Do you recall anything like that from the Swans? I mean, you guys have been in finals a lot, so it's hard to maybe draw on that. But do you recall moments of having to learn the pace of finals footy?
I think it just probably comes a bit more naturally to us now. Just the finals experience is ultra important. We know what we have to do. We know who we are internally. So we just got to go out there and just trust our system and how we play, I think. And I think on the big ground of the G, internally we know that we have a good supporter base down there. So I think along mine, a few of the players have said in the press conferences, we know the support we have down there. So I think we've just got to treat it like every game. We know it's going to be big, especially on the MCG. So, yeah.
How does the game play out? How do you see it?
Well, probably because of the weather, it's going to be a bit of a wet weather battle. I don't know exactly what it's going to be, if it's going to be hail or not, but I think both teams can put on a bit of a score, so it could be a bit of a free-flowing game. I'm probably predicting this one as a lot of lead changes back and forth a wee bit. Both teams will really take the game on, but I get nervous with fourth quarters now. The issue with us is our strength. When we put our strength to the table, we've played some great footy against some good quality sides, like 3 great quarters against Adelaide. Essendon were great. Melbourne were up by 17 points, but it's just the inconsistency of playing that for 4 quarters. Our fourth terms have been awful this year. We've gone goalless. We've given away goals. So we've got to try and buck the trend a wee bit with this game Friday night. So, I won't lie. I can definitely see us maybe edging towards maybe being the better side, if that's optimistic from my end. I don't know. And then probably fading out. Hopefully that isn't the case. But we've got to be consistent for 4 quarters. But I think this one could be a bit of a high scoring affair. Both forward lines can put on a score.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I had a look at the forecast, I mean, it's Thursday night and we're filming now, and it's pissing down rain outside. But from what I can see, it's going to rain in the day, maybe the arvo, and hopefully stop raining during the game. So I think that's going to be a determinant factor as to how I see the game playing out. I've thought about it, so I'm, with a cushion on it, I feel like Carlton might need a quarter to settle. And for me, I'm really curious to see, while we're in that settling period, how much we can mitigate whatever damage comes our way. And then I thought maybe it negates it with, let's say, a quarter that the Swans kind of give up, because that has been a bit of a trademark of the Swans for the most part of the season. I thought about it, and then I heard you say it just then, and reinforced it. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe the settling can cancel it out. Don't know what I'm going to do if it's a close one. Not going to lie. I think I've been telling myself that we're going to run away from it with it, but nah, it's a final. It's their first one. I don't know. It's starting to get real.
Yeah, you just don't know what to expect. Like, you can look at it as much as you want, but finals footy, anything can happen. Yeah,
absolutely. Your YouTube channel. Tell me about it. Tell us about it. What's the story? What's the journey?
Yeah. So I've always loved making videos, especially AFL stuff. I started when I was, like a young guy, young pup in year 7, making all trick shots videos and AFL videos all the way back then. But yeah, started to get back into it a bit more with 2021. I did a lot more highlights videos and everything, which did, help out people that, excuse me, that couldn't really access, the highlights and the footage, everything of AFL. Maybe they lived overseas, but after that year, went down a bit of a copyright strike. Or not strike, I was demonetized. I couldn't really do that anymore. But I've always loved doing live watch-alongs, commentary, interacting with chat and everything. And yeah, just love chewing the fat about footy. I think, the content I'd like to do is off-season videos, maybe a bit more video essays and everything, footy tips, current events, always like to chat. And yeah, sort of just do that on a weekly basis. Love it as a hobby. And yeah, I think, this year we've been building nicely, and I'm always wanting to try and get more into the collaboration side of things. So I guess this video does it perfect.
Yeah. I think I remember seeing your channel in like 2020, because I started on YouTube in 2019. I remember seeing some videos of yours in 2020, and then I don't know, I feel like your last 6-8 months, there's been like a real compound growth. It's good to see.
Oh yeah, appreciate it, mate. Yeah, no, absolutely, just love it. And I always like to take it with just a humble sort of feeling, just let it inevitably grow. And especially the live streams, I love doing all that stuff. And people have been coming in saying, hey, mate, love your commentary and your calling. And yeah, just, absolutely love it, and get a bit too passionate with the Swan stream. So I'll definitely be like that Friday night. Could get a bit vocal. But yeah, it's a hobby I love doing. And maybe in the future would love to do something in terms of AFL. So yeah, I am still young. But yeah, just keen away to just chip away at it.
Mate, love it. That's the way to do it. That's the only way to do it. So, good stuff. I'm not going to pretend to say good luck tomorrow, mate. I don't mean it. So I hope you go well in the off season. And I love the Swans. I really do. But, may the best team win is the best I've got for you.
Yeah, fair enough, mate. Yeah, straight back at you. I mean, I have a soft spot for the Blues, especially, I guess, just naturally. As a neutral supporter, you always want to sort of support the sides that haven't really tasted success in a while. I almost hope Collingwood lose tonight, so I'd be like, okay, it's okay, right. If Carlton wins, so it sets up a cracking semi-finals in neutral. But yeah, best of luck to your boys. I think your second half has been sensational, and I'm keen to see how they go tomorrow night. And I think mental side of things, you might have the upper hand with all the spirit and whatnot. So yeah, may the best team win tomorrow night.
See, here we go, mate. Speak to you afterwards.
Right. Appreciate it, mate.